Hello, ladies. Thanks for joining me again. I apologize, it's been quite some time since I've done a video. Just busy, summer life and work, and you all know that. But I've actually had a couple requests and some questions from some of you regarding how do I start introducing solid foods to my baby? Super great question. I had those same exact questions with my son. It's kind of a fun yet scary time. You start to think of, introducing all of the new foods, but then you think of like, they can start choking or allergies or, many of the different things that might be concerns to you. So I thought maybe I would just do a quick little video on it. Hopefully it helps. If you have more questions afterwards, please let me know. So before I actually start about like solid foods, I wanted to bring about, so whether you're nursing and pumping at times and having to feed the baby with a bottle, or if you're formula feeding, whatever it may be, if you don't have glass bottles, I highly recommend them. So it's just like you and I, or at least I prefer to not drink out of a plastic water bottle. There's lots of chemicals in plastic if you really think about it. And so your water is sitting in that all day, or your baby's milk is sitting in that, and then you're heating it up in that plastic. And what type of chemicals are coming off of that? So I got the Phillips ones. I got a nice 8-ounce one and then a 4-ounce. They're wonderful. I still use them for my son for his milk. And then you can actually just buy different nipple tops as the baby gets older. So you can start out at like a 0 or a 1 nipple top, and that's a super slow flow for your infants who are used to breastfeeding. My son is now up to a number 4, so it comes out fairly fast for him. So if you don't have glass bottles, I highly recommend getting some of them. So a good rule of thumb when you are trying to figure out if your baby is ready to start on solid foods or not, your baby has to be able to sit in a high chair and be able to hold its head up. If your baby's still really wobbly with its head, that's not going to be good for as they're trying to swallow. It can cause choking. So those are two things you really want to make sure your baby's fairly developed in those areas before you start introducing foods. I know some moms choose to introduce a lot earlier than that. These are just things that I've read, and it made a lot of sense to me. So that's personally what my husband and I chose to do when we started feeding our son. So Liam was about 5 months at the first bit of food that we ever gave him. Before that, he was just exclusively breastfed, nothing else. So at that point, he had just learned to sit on his own, and he had very good head control. So we were like, okay, we'll give it a try. We started with super bland food and then pureed it. So I think the first food we gave him was avocado. It's a very earthy tasting. It's good for you. It's got a lot of good high fats and calories and good nutrients for your baby. So that was the first thing we tried. Now, the research that I did, they recommended that when you introduce one new food to your baby, only give that one food for the next 2 to 3 days. So don't introduce another one. And the reason behind this is to see if your baby is going to form any type of food allergy to that specific food. So we gave Liam avocado on day 1, 2, and 3, and he was fine. And then the next day we introduced, I think it was mashed potatoes or squash or something really bland. Fruits, babies tend to love, obviously, because there's more sugar content in that. So I just want to say be careful with that. Don't choose all fruits to first introduce to your baby, because they will then learn to only want fruits because they want that sugary sweet taste compared to mashed potatoes or avocado or carrots, that type of thing. So just a little tip there. Some parents choose to introduce cereal to their baby. That's a very common first food that lots of moms and dads choose to give their baby. Now, I've heard of some people mixing a little bit of cereal into the baby's milk bottle. So you can do a bottle like this. This is a Tommy Tippy one, and it's called a cereal bottle. So the nipple hole is actually very big, so the milk will be thicker because of the cereal, and they can do that. I personally never chose to go this route. I guess I just thought that with breastfeeding and then introducing solid foods, I thought that he could benefit a lot more from the nutrients in solid foods like avocado or carrots more than a starchy cereal. So that was just my opinion and our choice. Certainly do your research on it. A lot of people start out with cereal. So this I wanted to show you guys. I don't know the brand of this. I can find the link on Amazon and post it to this. But this is a wonderful thing. So what this is you just take this top off, and you were to put, say, your avocado or chunks of banana, or, you know, we've put spaghetti in here. We've put, and you name it, okay? And then you put the top on, and then you just grind the food, and it actually goes through these little holes and purees the food. So you're not having to sit there with a blender and grind it up or try and mush it with a fork to get it super fine. I think this is like $13 on Amazon. We used it so much, you guys. I highly, highly, highly recommend this. Oh, here's the brand, Munchkin. So look that up on Amazon. Walmart, Target probably has it as well. Very effective, time saver, wonderful thing. A bib. These, once your baby starts eating solids, you're going to want a bib like this. It's made of silicone. I know lots of different brands make them. I just got this from Walmart. So that just clasps around the baby's neck, different sizes, and then it catches the food. And then all you have to do is dump it in the garbage, clean it in the sink. It's wonderful. And then this cool little thing, this is also Munchkin brand. I got this at Walmart. You can put, like, say, a little chunk of watermelon or a banana, an orange, whatever, in here. Things that, like, you wouldn't quite want to have your baby have early on, but they can get the juices out of it. So you just put the fruit in there, you clasp it, and then as long as your baby can hold on it, they suck on it and they get all, like, the juice and nutrients from it. So this is pretty cool too. These are really cheap, like $2 or $3 a piece. So this is another fun thing if you haven't seen those. So really, lots of the research that I've done is to not introduce solids before like 5 to 6 months. Really, your baby's digestive system, its stomach, their intestines, like, it's just not fully formed and developed to digest the food that they would be eating. They don't have good control of their tongue. They don't really know that swallowing mechanism when they get something in their mouth other than the sucking concept that they know from nursing in a bottle. So it's really just setting your baby up for failure starting it super early, and can cause a lot of risks like choking. So try and hold off. I know it's fun and exciting, but hold off until your baby is ready. A new thing that some people are doing is called baby-led weaning. So the word weaning, we think of like weaning them off of milk, right? Trying to stop them from something. The baby-led weaning concept actually started in England, and in England, weaning means starting solids. So, kind of cool. So really, it's just your baby is leading when it wants to start solid foods. So what that means is you start at 6 months, and your baby eats table food, anything you're eating, and you're not pureeing it. So it's finger foods. So this baby is learning to choose which foods they want, how much they want to eat. They're not having it forced into their mouth with a spoon. So concepts like that. A lot of people like this concept. I was a little nervous because of choking reasons. I know I've said that a lot in this video, but I wanted to be able to puree it and then have control over how much my baby was putting into his mouth. So during this time at 6 months, when you're introducing these solid foods, like I said, just do small amounts. And you're still, if you're exclusively breastfeeding, continue with that, okay? If you're formula feeding, continue with that. So early on, you're not going to be replacing a feeding with solids, okay? Your baby still needs that milk. So you're going to be doing a little bits of food. So I would usually nurse him and then we would try a little bit of solid foods. Okay, so I did that for a long time. I nursed him until he was 14 months old. And obviously, as he gets older, they kind of wean themselves and he wanted to be done. Another thing to remember is babies need that whole milk until they're a year old. So at 10 months old, I don't recommend giving your baby skim milk. They need those calories, they need that fat content and that nutrients that comes in the milk. No honey until they are at least a year old. That can cause botulism, so stay away from that. New studies are showing that introducing the high allergy prone foods earlier on in life is actually preventing them from developing allergies from them later on. So things like strawberries and eggs and certain kinds of fruits, things like that, like peanut butter that our kids are known to have allergies of, they're actually saying to start introducing that earlier on in small amounts. So something to think about. So as you guys start this process, I just want to remind you to go slow. Have fun with this. Remember that breast milk or formula is still number one during this process. They need those good nutrients for their immunity, for their brain development, for their body development, everything. It's so essential for them. So really that's kind of a sum up of how to introduce food to your baby around that 6 months. So you're going to slowly introduce new foods one at a time, like I talked about. Then once you get to about like 9 to 12 months, your baby's really going to be doing pretty good, like picking food up by themselves, maybe feeding themselves with a spoon possibly. That does come a little later. But it's just so fun to like see your baby's development, how they're doing. A couple cool things that I have, they're these little bowls. They've got suction on the bottom, so they can suction right to your baby's high chair. Then you give them a spoon, and then they're not chucking the bowl around. My son is a little stronger now, so he still manages to pick up the bowl and throw the rice everywhere, whatever it may be. But those I found at Walmart. You can find them on Amazon. They're great. You'll like those. And once your baby's at about a year old, water is super important. It becomes very important at that stage to have your baby be drinking water because most likely they're not really getting that breast milk all the time or their bottle with all those liquids. So this one, it's called Gulp Bliss. I got it on Amazon. I think it was $10. I like this one because it's an insulated one. It's just like my Hydro Flask where you can put ice in there and it stays cool for them. It's just a straw. He loves this. Or this one is just a cup, but then it's like an anti-spill. So they actually bite on this as they drink and it puts water into their mouth. And they can throw this on the floor and nothing spills out. So that's kind of a cool one too. So just a couple of fun, useful things that I found that have been really helpful for introducing foods. Some people have asked, like, how do I store baby food? I don't want to buy baby food from the store in the jars. There's so many preservatives and gross things in there that I wouldn't even eat myself. So Liam really ate what we ate. So for supper, we would run it through his grinder, or once he was a little bigger to have finger foods, we would cut it up really small. He really ate what we did. I have been fortunate enough to not have to send him to daycare, so someone's been home with him, so we haven't had to really worry about packing food to send with him. But I've heard great things about grinding the food up ahead of time and freezing it. So you can freeze it in like ice cube trays, like say ground up squash maybe, or ground up peas or avocado, whatever it may be. Freeze it in ice cube trays and then pop them out and put them in baggies. And then when it comes time to send your baby to daycare or, someone else's house or even just at home, if you don't want them eating exactly what you're eating, just pop one out and heat it up on the stove or the microwave, whatever you're most comfortable with. And that's super simple, super easy. Now, like I said, I don't send him to daycare, so I don't 100% know how daycares handle it. If I know some want you to send food, some don't, so that's just a conversation you would have with them. Also, with introducing foods, have the conversation with your pediatrician. They'll start talking to you about it around that 6 months of age. Ask any questions that you have to them, any concerns. They have a wealth of knowledge regarding this information. They're pediatricians for a reason. So that's a super great resource. The awesome thing about doing this is it saves a lot of money. Baby food can get expensive. It adds up. So by grinding it and freezing it ahead of time is super affordable, and it's so much better for your baby. So I hope you guys learned something. This video got a lot longer than I thought it was going to. Ask questions, comments. Feel free to share it and invite anyone you want who might benefit from this information. And we'll talk to you guys later.